You see, I'm gonna tell you something. They always want you to, you know what these rappers, all these singers, all these big rappers y'all look up to? They always tell you what the good part about, but they never tell you what the bad part. And that's crazy, man. Yeah, they got all this money, but they're dealing with emo spirits. They're dealing with killing themselves. They're dealing with...
You ever notice how your favorite rappers always tell you about the wins, the money, the women, the private jets, but they never tell you about the cost? Not the financial one, the real cost, the kind that haunts you when the cameras turn off. That's the part they hide. But every now and then, someone breaks. And this time, it was YK Osiris. In a raw, emotional live stream, he didn't cry for clout or spin some industry narrative. He looked straight into the camera and said he wanted to end it all. No friends, no money, no peace. And if you've been paying attention, this didn't come out of nowhere. This was the explosion after years of pressure, manipulation, and what some are now calling ritualistic humiliation, all tied to the same powerful names we've heard whispered about before: Diddy, Drake, Ray J. It all started with a luxury trip to Jamaica. A broke artist somehow living like royalty. A photo here, a cryptic caption there. But the deeper you dig, the clearer it becomes. This wasn't just a vacation. This was the beginning of something darker. So, what really happened between YK Osiris and Diddy in Jamaica? Why did Drake push him to sing on camera like he owed him his soul? And how did Ray J end up right in the middle of it all, again? This isn't just industry gossip. This is about a young man crying out from inside a machine designed to chew people up and leave them hollow. Let's break down the disturbing truth that no one in the industry wants you to hear. YK Osiris didn't just wake up one day and decide to fall apart in front of the world. This was a slow collapse, the kind that creeps in quietly while everyone else is watching your highlight reel. The signs were all there. 1 minute, he's flaunting designer fits and luxury whips. The next, he's on Instagram talking about selling everything. The Lamborghini? Gone. Rolls-Royce? Gone. Cadillac? Gone. "This thing humbled me," he said, sounding more like a man being stripped down than someone leveling up. He looked broken, not blessed. And yet, out of nowhere, he pops up in Jamaica. Not just on vacation, but living lavish in a private villa like he hadn't just said he was drowning in debt. No shows, no hits, no revenue stream in sight. But somehow, this man was sipping fruit cocktails under the Caribbean sun. That alone had fans scratching their heads. But it got real suspicious when he started dropping cryptic posts. First, it was a photo of Diddy, shirtless in a pool, with prayer hand emojis. Then came a strange image of himself, laid out during a massage with the caption, "Listening to that Diddy, eating that good fruit, beautiful weather." But it wasn't just the captions, it was the energy. The kind that felt off, like someone was trying to hint at something, or maybe say something, without really saying it. And fans noticed. One person said, "The moment I didn't see a single female, I knew it was a man who sponsored that trip." That's when everything started spiraling. The speculation, the receipts, and most of all, the pain that YK had been hiding behind forced smiles and awkward interviews. Because this wasn't just about money anymore. This was about control, about what happens when someone young, talented, and desperate gets pulled into something they can't escape. For a while, it was all just whispers. People speculated, side-eyed, posted screenshots, and drew their own conclusions. But then, it hit mainstream. YK Osiris walked straight into the Lion's Den, the Breakfast Club, and Charlemagne? He didn't waste a second. Right there, on air, he asked what everyone else was too afraid to say out loud. "Were you Diddy's boy toy?" Most people would shut that down immediately. But YK? He smiled, awkwardly, played with his hoodie, looked away, stumbled through vague answers, said no but never made eye contact. His mouth said no, but his whole body screamed, "I don't want to talk about this." DJ Envy pressed again. "So, you were in Jamaica with Diddy?" YK tried to laugh it off. "Nah, he was in a different area." But the cracks were showing. His vibe was tense, nervous, like someone who had rehearsed the lines, but not the emotions. The moment felt uncomfortable for everyone watching, not because of what was being said, but because of what wasn't being said. Something had gone down, and it left a mark. It was the first time the mainstream caught a glimpse of the story behind the photos. The innocent captions weren't looking so innocent anymore. That fruit post, that quiet Jamaica trip, suddenly it all felt like coded messages in plain sight. And just when things started cooling off, YK's own baby mama dropped the bomb. "Stop asking me what happened with my BD. I caught him with a man." No more speculation. This was someone from inside the circle pulling the curtain all the way back. Now, it wasn't just about a strange vacation. It was about power, secrets, and how young artists get caught in relationships they can't escape, not just emotionally, but spiritually, financially, and contractually. Because what happened next proved this wasn't a one-time situation, it was a pattern. If the Jamaica trip was the start of something strange, what happened next made it feel like a full-blown system, with more than one puppet master. Enter Drake, the superstar with billionaire energy, private jets, and the kind of influence most artists only dream of. But YK Osiris didn't seem to be living the dream. He looked like he was stuck inside a nightmare disguised as luxury. It started with a viral video. YK had just lost a $60,000 bet to Drake. Instead of brushing it off, Drake made him perform, right there in the house. Or the debt stood. You could see it in YK's face. Embarrassment, pressure, discomfort. It wasn't a joke, it was a public demand for submission. YK smiled, laughed awkwardly, tried to play along, but it didn't land right. One viewer called it a humiliation ritual disguised as homie energy. Another said he looked like he wanted to disappear. Then came the sit-ups on Drake's private jet. YK sweating, struggling, while someone filmed and laughed. No music video, no context, just another moment where the vibe wasn't playful. It was powerful, and not in a good way. People started to connect the dots. Why is this man, clearly uncomfortable, always the punchline in videos with more powerful celebrities? Why is he constantly being put in these bizarre situations where he's forced to smile through the discomfort? Then it escalated. Drake posted a photo of YK with a new haircut, eerily similar to the certified lover boy look, and captioned it, "Burnt the fuck out. You really one of one, YK. Stop playing. Only I can do this." And just like that, YK went and got the OVO owl tattooed on his leg. To outsiders, it looked like fandom, but to those watching closely, it looked like a mark of ownership. And the weirdness didn't stop. With every new post, every new interaction, the picture got darker. It wasn't just industry hazing. This felt intentional, like YK was being molded, controlled, or worse, groomed. The question now wasn't if something was going on. It was, how deep did this go, and who else was in on it? Because the real horror wasn't in the public videos. It was in what we hadn't seen yet. Up to this point, everything could have been brushed off. Just speculation. Just industry antics. But then, the theories took a turn. Not just about clout, not just about power, but about something spiritual. Because according to insiders, this wasn't just about embarrassing YK Osiris, it was about breaking him, step by step, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, until he'd be whatever they needed him to be. And that's when Sloan Bella stepped in. A psychic with a reputation for calling out dark truths in Hollywood. She didn't mince words. She said flat out, "This isn't about being gay. This is about ritualistic sexual energy harvesting, a practice where powerful elites allegedly drain the life force of younger men, using humiliation, submission, and trauma to feed their own power." According to her, this wasn't new. It was ancient, a twisted form of energy control disguised behind parties, fame, and success. She claimed Kim Porter, Diddy's former partner, had discovered the truth, that she was writing a book, that she knew it went way deeper than drugs or fame, and then she was gone, just like that. And suddenly, all the strange pieces started to fit. The trips, the fruit photos, the tattoos, the breakdowns, the complete unraveling of a once promising artist. YK wasn't just being hazed, he was being ritualized, slowly, publicly, repeatedly. And the worst part? He tried to speak up, he went live, spoke directly to his fans, he said he wanted to quit music, that it wasn't from God, that the people at the top weren't who they claimed to be. He said, "These rappers always tell you about the good part, but they never tell you about the bad part." That was the moment it stopped being a rumor. Because when a man stands in front of the world and says, "I want to leave this earth," that's not promo. That's not trolling. That's a cry for help. Until now, Ray J's name was barely floating in the background. But once people started paying closer attention, they realized he might be the key to the whole thing. Sources began claiming it was Ray J who introduced YK Osiris to Diddy. Quietly, casually, like it was no big deal. But that one connection might have opened the door to everything that followed. Jamaica. The parties, the weird posts, the breakdowns. It didn't stop there. Months after the infamous Jamaica trip, Ray J popped back up, this time in the Dominican Republic, surprising YK on his birthday. On the surface, it looked friendly. But the vibe? Something was off. Ray J stood in front of the camera, delivering a cryptic monologue. There's a lot of bags to get when you brainstorming amongst creative minds. That bag talk hits completely different now. It sounded like code. Not celebration, not brotherhood, business, power, control. And while he was smiling and toasting, YK looked dead inside. Viewers picked up on it instantly. He didn't even look happy to see Ray J. It felt like he was being watched, not celebrated. Ray J barely acknowledged him. It was like YK even stranger. There was a man standing directly behind Ray J the entire time, silent. Still, getting more camera time than YK himself, almost like the roles had already been reassigned. Ray J the star, YK the shadow. The dots kept connecting. Ray J has been linked to multiple controversies before, supplying nose candy to stars like Whitney Houston and Wendy Williams, making live threats to other celebrities on air, constantly flexing with the money team and projecting power. But now, with YK's meltdown unfolding, people started asking, was Ray J just a middleman, or was he something more dangerous? Someone who scouts the vulnerable, plays Big Brother, and then passes them into the machine. Because after that birthday surprise, YK didn't level up. By this point, YK Osiris wasn't just another artist caught in controversy, he became a symbol of what the music industry does to the vulnerable. After the Jamaica whispers, after the awkward interviews, after the stunts with Drake and the strange reunion with Ray J, something inside YK snapped. He went live. No filters, no handlers, no mask, just raw emotion. And what he said shook people. Because it wasn't a publicity stunt, it was a breakdown. His voice trembling, YK admitted, "I don't have friends. Nobody's near me. Nobody's around me." You could feel the pain dripping from every word. Not the pain of a canceled show or a flopped album, but the pain of a man who had been used, discarded, and left hollow, all while pretending to be okay. He begged fans to stop bringing up Drake or Lil Baby. "They don't mess with me anymore," he said, his eyes red. It was like he was trying to erase the illusion, strip away the clout, and scream, "This was never real." None of them cared. But the most chilling part, he didn't even sound angry. He sounded defeated. He said he wanted out. Not just from the music industry, but from life itself. And then came the truth he had been avoiding for so long. "This is not what God wants me to do, but I do it to feed my family." Those words hit harder than any diss track or headline ever could, because they weren't crafted, they weren't performed, they were confessions. YK made it clear, this industry isn't powered by talent, it's powered by pain, by energy extraction, emotional, spiritual, even sexual. He spoke about rappers who pretend they're blessed by God, when really, they're involved in something much darker. They're dealing with demons, he said. They're dealing with wanting to off themselves, but they'll never tell you that part. And the thing is, most of them don't. But YK did. He risked everything to show us a truth nobody wants to hear. The music industry doesn't need you happy. It just needs you productive, profitable, quiet. He wasn't crazy. He wasn't weak. He was human, finally screaming after years of silent suffering. And the world, some laughed, some mocked him. But the ones paying attention, they knew this wasn't about music anymore. This was a man begging to be saved. By now, everything YK Osiris went through, the breakdowns, the humiliation, the cryptic posts, started to form a picture. And it was one that many believe has nothing to do with bad choices or a fallen career. It's about ritual. It's about control. And according to some, it's about sacrifice. The whispers around Diddy have existed for years. Parties that turn into underground gatherings, filled with rules that don't apply in the real world. Young artists suddenly going silent, promising careers vanishing overnight, or worse, spiraling in full public view as if destruction was the final act of their contract. YK's story matches that pattern too well to ignore. He was young, vulnerable, desperate for approval, and already spiraling when he got the call. A few gifts, a trip, a few photos with the right people, that's all it took. Once the trust was there, the game could begin. And this isn't coming from Reddit threads or random Twitter users. Even spiritual advisors and energy experts have come forward to say there's something ritualistic going on. Psychic Sloan Bella was clear. This is not about sexuality. This is about harnessing the spiritual energy of young people, she said, about using their innocence, their fear, their desire to belong, and draining it for personal power. She called it spiritual vampirism, where the elite feed off the trauma of the up-and-coming. And when they're done, they leave them behind, broken, isolated, and disposable. It's a pattern. An artist rises fast, gets too close to someone at the top, begins acting strangely, suffers public humiliation, breaks down emotionally, disappears, fades, or worse. And with YK, every single step played out, right in front of us. Fans began saying what many were too afraid to admit. He was never meant to succeed. He was meant to be used. Diddy didn't discover talent. He harvested it. It's like they drained him for everything and moved on. And if that's true, then YK Osiris wasn't just collateral damage. He was the ritual, the offering, the energetic price. And that's why his live breakdowns felt so different. Because maybe, deep down, he knew. He had been pulled into something he didn't understand. And by the time he realized it, it was too late. But what if he's not the only one? For a long time, it looked like YK Osiris was done. A cautionary tale. Another young artist devoured by the machine. But now, the tides might be turning, because according to multiple insiders and some whispers from people allegedly close to the situation, YK Osiris is sitting on evidence. Real evidence. Not vague comments or suspicious posts, but voice notes, private messages, contracts, receipts. And if what people are saying is true, this material could expose everything. Not just Diddy, not just Drake, not just Ray J, but the entire network that silently controls the music industry from the shadows. Allegedly, YK's been holding on to this proof for years, unsure if speaking out would protect him or end him. But now, with Diddy's empire under fire and multiple lawsuits piling up, the silence is cracking. Because when the walls close in, everyone starts pointing fingers. YK's collapse wasn't just a breakdown, it was a buildup. A slow explosion, waiting for the moment to blow, and the pressure cooker might finally be reaching its limit. Every single step played out right in front of us. Fans began saying what many were too afraid to admit. He was never meant to succeed. He was meant to be used. Diddy didn't discover talent. He harvested it. It's like they drained him for everything and moved on. And if that's true, then YK Osiris wasn't just collateral damage. He was the ritual, the offering, the energetic price. And that's why his live breakdowns felt so different. Because maybe, deep down, he knew. He had been pulled into something he didn't understand, and by the time he realized it, it was too late. But what if he's not the only one? For a long time, it looked like YK Osiris was done. A cautionary tale. Another young artist devoured by the machine. But now, the tides might be turning, because according to multiple insiders, and some whispers from people allegedly close to the situation, YK Osiris is sitting on evidence. Real evidence. Not vague comments or suspicious posts, but voice notes, private messages, contracts, receipts. And if what people are saying is true, this material could expose everything. Not just Diddy, not just Drake, not just Ray J, but the entire network that silently controls the music industry from the shadows. Allegedly, YK's been holding onto this proof for years, unsure if speaking out would protect him or end him. But now, with Diddy's empire under fire and multiple lawsuits piling up, the silence is cracking. Because when the walls close in, everyone starts pointing fingers. YK's collapse wasn't just a breakdown, it was a buildup, a slow explosion, waiting for the moment to blow. And the pressure cooker might finally be reaching its limit. He was never meant to thrive. He was meant to serve, to entertain, to obey, to be shaped and used like clay. When he cried, they laughed. When he broke down, they filmed it. And when he asked for help, silence. This isn't just about YK Osiris. He's just the one brave or broken enough to show it. How many more artists are out there smiling through their trauma, tattooing logos on their skin, going broke behind closed doors while pretending they're still bawling? How many are trapped in contracts they didn't understand, tied to people they thought were family until they tried to leave? And when they do try to leave, the doors don't open. They close tighter. What happened to YK isn't rare. It's a system, a pattern. Love bomb them, humble them, humiliate them, control them. And when they finally scream for help, call them crazy, call it clout chasing, blame the victim, forget the receipts. But maybe not this time. Because if YK really is sitting on the evidence, if he really is ready to speak, the question isn't whether people will believe him. The question is, will they let him? Because the industry doesn't fear loudmouths. It fears proof. It fears exposure. And most of all, it fears the ones who survive long enough to tell the truth. If you've made it this far, you already know. This goes deeper than drama, deeper than headlines, and way deeper than the music. So what do you think is really happening? Is YK Osiris the first to break, or just the first to almost make it out? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We're listening. And if you're here for the truth that doesn't tiptoe around the industry, hit that like, subscribe, and catch the next expose. It's already on its way.